Every month, millions of Americans open their bank apps and see a number that looks fine. The balance didn't drop. The paycheck arrived. Nothing looks broken. But something is broken. Groceries cost more. Rent is higher. Insurance premiums keep climbing. And saving money feels harder than it did just a few years ago. This isn't a coincidence. It isn't bad luck. And it isn't just post-pandemic problems. What you're experiencing is the result of a silent economic strategy that almost no one explains clearly. A strategy tied directly to America's exploding national debt. This video is not about fear. It's not about blaming Americans. And it's not about predicting collapse. It's about understanding how the system really works, why inflation keeps showing up no matter who's in office, and how this environment quietly reshapes your money, your savings, and your future. Because once you understand the rules of the game, you stop playing blind. Let's begin. The scale of America's debt problem. The United States currently carries more than $38 trillion in national debt. That number is so massive that most people mentally tune it out. So let's translate it into reality. That debt is larger than the entire U.S. economy produces in a year, roughly $290,000 per taxpayer, growing faster than wages, productivity, or population. Every few months, another $1 trillion is added. Now here's the most important question. How does a country pay back a debt that large? The uncomfortable truth is this. It doesn't, at least not the way households do. If the government tried to raise taxes dramatically, cut spending aggressively, pay debt down directly, the result would be economic contraction, massive unemployment, political chaos. So instead of choosing a painful, visible solution, the system chooses a slow, invisible one. Inflation, not an accident, but a mechanism. Most Americans are taught that inflation happens because of supply chain disruptions, corporate greed, energy prices, temporary shocks. And those things matter, but they're not the whole story. Historically, inflation has played another role. It reduces the real value of debt over time. Here's why. Debt is fixed in dollars, but dollars change in value. When inflation rises, the borrower benefits. The lender loses purchasing power. And when inflation persists for years, the effect compounds. Now ask yourself, who is the largest borrower in the world? The U.S. government. This doesn't mean inflation is a conspiracy. It means inflation is structurally useful in a high-debt system. Not ideal, not painless, but effective. Why savers feel like they're losing. Let's talk about everyday Americans who did everything right. You worked. You saved. You avoided risky behavior. But now, your savings don't stretch as far. Your emergency fund feels weaker. Your financial progress feels slower. Why? Because inflation quietly taxes idle money. Example. Your savings account pays 3%. Real-world inflation runs closer to 4 down to 5%. That means your money loses purchasing power every year, even though the balance goes up. This is why people feel frustrated and confused. It's not that saving is bad. It's that the environment changed and the system favors borrowers, asset owners, grow more than cash holders, fixed income savers. The Federal Reserve's no-win situation. The Federal Reserve sits at the center of this entire system. Its mission sounds simple. Control inflation, support employment. But reality is far more complicated. If the Fed raises rates too high, government interest payments explode. Housing freezes. Businesses collapse. If rates stay too low, inflation accelerates. Asset bubbles grow. Savers fall behind. So the Fed walks a narrow path. It doesn't aim to destroy inflation. It aims to manage it without breaking the system. Inflation stays above target longer. Rate cuts always return. Monetary tightening never lasts forever. This isn't incompetence. It's constraint. Why housing and stocks keep rising. Many Americans ask, why do homes and stocks keep rising even when life feels harder? Because inflation pushes money away from cash and toward real assets. Homes adjust upward. Stocks represent future earnings. Businesses pass higher costs forward. Cash does not adjust. So capital flows into real estate, stocks, hard assets, businesses. This creates asset inflation, wealth gaps, frustration for first-time buyers. It feels unfair, but it's predictable. Is this intentional or inevitable? Here's where we separate facts from fear. This is not a secret meeting. This is not a master plan. It is a structural outcome of high debt, aging population, political limits, economic reality. History shows the same pattern. Post-World War II America. 1970s global economies. Modern developed nations. When debt gets too high, governments choose time, grow, inflation, instead of collapse, default, severe austerity. Not because it's perfect, but because alternatives are worse. Why the dollar isn't collapsing. Despite the headlines, the US dollar is not disappearing tomorrow. Why? Global trade still depends on it. Alternatives have their own problems. The US economy remains productive. But that doesn't mean the dollar is getting stronger. Purchasing power is protected. It means the dollar erodes slowly, not suddenly. And slow erosion is harder to notice and harder to fight emotionally. What this means for your financial life. This environment rewards understanding, strategy, long-term thinking. It punishes passivity, fear-based decisions, blind trust in old rules. This does not mean gamble, panic, chase hype. It means understand inflation's role, recognize debt dynamics, adapt thoughtfully. Knowledge doesn't eliminate risk, but ignorance guarantees confusion. The big message most people miss: America's debt problem won't end with a crash. It won't end with a single announcement. And it won't end overnight. It will be managed over decades. The real danger isn't sudden collapse. The real danger is living in a new system while thinking the old rules still apply. When you understand the system, you stop reacting emotionally. And you start making calm, informed decisions. That's how you protect yourself. If this video gave you clarity, hit like. Subscribe for calm, honest explanations, not panic. And comment below, what worries you most about the economy right now? Inflation, housing, or retirement?